In today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at what some would call the ultimate single-engine piston aircraft. That's right, today's video is all about the Piper PA-46. If you're an airplane nerd, you'll be quick to point out there are many different variants in the PA-46 family. So before this video starts, I want to give you guys a quick rundown of all the different variants so that you understand which one this is that we'll be looking into, and so that if you're in the market for a PA-46 like us, you know which one best suits your mission. So kicking it off, the PA-46 family started with the Piper Malibu in 1984. This plane is known as the 310P variant because it's powered by a Continental TSIO 520 engine, which is twin turbocharged and produces 310 horsepower. It can cruise up to 25,000 feet at over 200 knots on only 15 gallons of fuel per hour. That's because this plane was designed to run lean of peak very efficiently. That changed in 1988 when Piper introduced the Malibu Mirage. This plane is known as the 350 because it's powered by a Lycoming TSIO 540 engine, also twin turbocharged with 350 horsepower, more boost. But on the flip side, Piper and most operators tell you to run at rich of peak, so the fuel burn is closer to 20 gallons an hour, get a little bump in speed, maybe an extra 5 to 10 knots. So they kept this Mirage going virtually unchanged until the mid-2000s when they dropped in Aviation avionics. That was pretty neat. And then in 2009, that was another big update when the G1000 glass cockpit was plopped in, like you'll see in today's plane. Also around that time, another member joined the PA-46 family, and that plane was known as the Matrix. This is basically a Malibu Mirage. The only difference is it's unpressurized. Now let's not forget about the Jet A burning variants. The certification of the turboprop version of the Malibu, called the Meridian, was approved in the year 2000, and those sold quite well. Strapping a PT6 on the front of a PA-46 definitely kicked up the performance. Lots of owners love them, and they still make them today in 3 different variants. Yes, I told you this was a confusing family. We got the M500, which is a 500 horsepower variant. We have the M600, which is a 600 horsepower variant. And then new to 2024, we have the M700 Fury, which you guessed it is a 700 horsepower high performance version of the M600. Now you're probably wondering what's the modern version of the Mirage that I just discussed. Well, yes, that's known as the M350. So that's the entry level PA-46 now. That was updated in 2015. Now you probably thought we were done, right? Well, there's one more member to this very extensive family, and that's the PA-46 jet prop. And if you've never heard of this, that's because Piper never made this plane. It's an aftermarket STC modification by Rocket Engineering that came out before the Meridian even existed. So they took the Malibus and the Mirages, ripped out the old twin turbo flat sixes, and strapped in a PT6, producing a crap ton of horsepower, which turned it into a little rocket ship. Anyway, I hope that catches you up to speed on the PA-46 family. That's a very, very brief intro just for the people who aren't familiar with them. I know a lot of these things now because, let's just say, we've been in the market for one perhaps. Meeting Cory and flying in this Mirage definitely opened our eyes to the PA-46 family, and we might have possibly perhaps bought one. Yeah, stay tuned for next video. Anyway, I figured you guys would like this video. It was filmed a while ago. I completely forgot to post it, but it was a great video at the end of the day, and it really showed off some of the cool features of the Mirage and shows it from an owner's perspective. Cory is super cool. He's an entrepreneur. He's a big real estate investor. We'll talk about that later in the video. And be sure to comment down below. What do you think of the Piper Malibu? Is it the ultimate piston single? Without further ado, let's get into this video. Alrighty guys, and here is Cory, man of the hour. Thank you so much for making this happen.
Absolutely.
This is gonna be a heck of a fun day. And here's your beautiful Mirage.
This is it.
We got some questions for you. What year is it? When did you get it? What are your favorite parts about it as we walk around here?
Sure, so it's a Piper Mirage. It's a PA-46 airframe. It's a 2013. I got this one because it was pressurized and it can go up into the flight levels. You know, you can go above the weather. It goes up to 25,000 feet.
Wow.
It trues out around 200 knots. Sometimes you can get a nice tailwind at 25,000 and end up close to 250, 260 ground speed. Other thing that I really love about this is that it is feeky, and that is flight into known icing. Having an airplane like this in Denver is awesome.
To get up to those flight levels, you got to have a pretty serious engine in here.
And it's twin turbocharged, one for each side. It's a Lycoming 350 horsepower, and it does great. It goes all the way to 42 inches of manifold on takeoff, so it has a lot of power. It climbs really, really well. So it holds 120 gallons of fuel, 60 in each wing. You can get an STC for more. If you're going eastbound because of the winds, you can go from Denver to Florida nonstop.
Whoa, okay. So what kind of fuel burns do you normally
It does really well. It's a little bit different coming out of a smaller aircraft where you're used to like 6 or 8 gallons an hour. This thing averages 25 gallons an hour. You know,
so for the speed and what you're doing.
Yeah, it's, you know, when you average climb, cruise, and descent, it comes out to about 25, which works out really
cool. Walking around.
So the cool part about this is the entryway, and Piper really wanted to do this for a ramp appeal. 2-part door, kind of like a Learjet.
Oh wow, look at that interior. So nice. Got the beautiful avionics up there, which we'll show. G1000?
It is G1000.
How many hours were on it when you got it?
It was 1,250 hours, so almost brand new.
Nice. So you let the first guy take the depreciation hit, and now you get a solid deal on it.
How many have you racked up since then?
About 100, a little over 100.
Last little bit all the way around here, we noticed just how tall this tail is. Like, Christian, our Cirrus, like, I feel like it goes up to like, I could almost reach the tip, but this is like.
This thing, it's 12 feet. It's a little over 12 feet.
Oh my. The size of that prop strikes me every time. Every time I look at it, look how big it is compared to just any other small plane. Okay, so what's this for the viewers who are watching and think this is some either bomb or fuel tank?
It looks like a bomb. The front part is the radar dome. The back part is really just for aerodynamics. So if you want a little bit of extra storage.
Oh, no way.
This is just a fairing. This is all this is. So extra storage in here.
Do they all come with this? Or is this an option?
They all come with this.
Oh wow.
I do have XM and ADS-B weather inside, so I have 3 weather sources to disseminate inside.
That's a good little walk around on the outside. Let's hop to the inside.
So that was really interesting to me, that radar comes factory, and as well as all of the flight into known icing comes factory on a Mirage like this.
Wow, I feel like people are sleeping on these planes. Like everybody's talking about other planes, but this is the ticket. At least so far, based on these specs and everything. Let's see how it flies. So are we gonna be able to take it out for a flight? Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah,
oh my goodness. Oh, this is gonna be awesome.
I think we can all agree that when it comes to flying, it's important to be on your A game both mentally and physically, and part of that means having a well-balanced diet. But if you're like me and you struggle eating all your daily greens and hitting your vitamin and mineral intake goals, then that's where today's video sponsor, Grunes, comes in. Grunes are a convenient, comprehensive formula packed into 8 gummies a day. They aren't just a multivitamin, a greens gummy, or a probiotic. They are all of those things and then some at a fraction of the cost. What's super nice is they come pre-packaged in these little snack bags. Say you're going on a 3-day trip, all you gotta do is bring 3 of these along with you to stay on top of your goals. Oh, and did I mention that they taste great as well? They also are super cute. If the cuteness of your superfood green gummies matters to you, then that's a nice benefit too, but I mean, I get down with these every single day. Generic multivitamins only contain around 7 to 9 vitamins, whereas Grunes has over 20 vitamins and minerals and over 60 whole food ingredients. Grunes benefits your gut health, your energy levels, and your cognitive function, just to name a few. Start your New Year's off right by trying Grunes today, and be sure to use the special JR Aviation link in the description below. That'll get you up to 52% off for a limited time. Thank you, Grunes, for supporting the channel, making videos like this possible. Now, without further ado, back to the video.
Look at this cabin class aircraft. Awesome.
All right, he's in.
Let's go.
This is big.
I like this. This is way bigger than Bonanza. It feels like a small jet. Like we've sat in like some Eclipse 500.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Mags are on, and then this one here, there's boost pumps in the tanks. And so you just use the boost pumps to give it a nice little prime. And off. Throttle quarter. Clear.
Portions off north kilo ramp close. Taxi lane, Alpha 15 into the ramp close. Advantage contact me, F Juliet.
Okay, they were doing a swamp. Grounded 21.6, tower 19.9 programmed in here. So PFDs on each side, they are exactly the same, but they have their own computers. So this calculates on an air data computer 1, air data computer 2. So if there was a failure, we have 2 computers and we have 2 AHRs. And then this is the multifunction display with a moving map, weather, everything else. This is all instruments here. Manifold, RPM, turbo inlet temperature, fuel flow, cylinder head temp, oil pressure, oil temp. This is crew alert systems here. This is your cabin pressure indicator here. So this is something that might be new. Here's your fuel quantities. This is your alternator, your volts, your amps, your vacuum pump, and then your flap indicator. Emergency fuel pumps off. Fuel selectors on the left tank. Mixture is set. Mags are on. We started. Oil pressure was good in the green. Alternator looks good in the green. Vacuum looks good in the green. Avionics are on. Multifunction display is set. We're not doing totalizer today. CAS messages are off. Autopilot's off. Taxi and landing light here in just a second. We've got the navs and strobes on here in just a second. Nothing to do with environmental today. No heater today because it's nice and hot. Standby attitude gyro is up. Altimeter is set. Stall test is here. Lights are here, so you look for those lights, the gear lights, and then you test this panel here. All of the lights are working. And then again, no de-ice needed today. So I'm ready to taxi.
All right, awesome.
For taxi, I always do landing light on, taxi light on, navs on, and I never turn the strobes on the taxiway. That's more of a professional thing. You only want to have those on the runway. So when you're off, strobes off. All right, brakes are off, and we will taxi forward.
Really appreciate all these tips along the way, learning so much already, and we've just started rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long have you been flying for?
10 years. I've always done the rental thing. Finally got to the point where I could have the opportunity to get my own airplane.
So this was your first airplane?
This is the first one. And
wow.
It's a nice big step up.
Oh yeah.
You know, from a 172 or 182. Ground, good evening, Mirage 816, Charlie Mike at signature with Juliet will be VFR.
Mirage 816, Charlie Mike, got to ground. Use caution for opposite direction citation, runway 21, taxi via Bravo. And I verify we have Juliet.
Bravo to 21, we'll go behind the citation, and we have Juliet for Mirage 816, Charlie Mike.
The Delta's going to hold for the Mirage because we're going in that in-ramp.
Oh, Roger. No, actually, Charlie Mike, runway 21, taxi via Bravo, they hold for you.
All right, taxi 21 for 816, Charlie Mike.
All good back there, Christian?
Yeah, it's great.
Christian, you're in the most comfortable seat in the house.
I understand. I feel it 100%.
If I just squish down the seat a little bit, I get by. If I stand straight up, yeah, my head's going to be hitting.
Yeah,
but
that's one of the limitations of this thing, tall folks. It's a little challenging.
Yeah, that tends to happen quite a few times. I love a plane, then I sit in it, I'm like, oh, no, there goes that.
You would fit good in a Mooney. These do quick run-ups.
Runway 21, clear to land.
Just up to 2,000 RPM. Good thing in your Cirrus left mag or right mag. Back to both. I do check the alternators. So 2 comes off, 1 picks it up, then go back to sharing. 1 comes off, 2 picks it up, and they're back to sharing. Everything's in the green, fuel flow's in the green, cylinder head temp looks great, pressure looks great, temp looks great. Come over here, fuel quantity sufficient, alternator's working, volts look great, battery amps look good, vacuum pumps are working. They come back to idle, just make sure it idles, and then back up to 1,000, or else you discharge the battery. We're ready for takeoff. So we were on ground. I'm going over to tower now that we're at the runway. Tower's 19.9. Tower, good evening, Mirage 816, Charlie Mike, holding short of 21 at Bravo 16, ready to go.
Mirage 816, Charlie Mike, go to stay runway 21, clear for takeoff, same direction, departure.
Clear for takeoff 21, and we'll be northbound for 816, Charlie Mike.
Mirage 6, Charlie Mike, northbound approved.
Ready to go. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
We're
ready to go.
Bringing the power up slowly. You'll feel the turbos coming in just a second. I'm looking for 85. There's 85 knots. So we're off the runway. Positive rate gear coming up. We'll kick on the yaw damp for our passengers in the back. There's 100 knots, flaps coming up.
Mirage 6, Charlie Mike, when able to block VFR.
Okay, VFR 6, Charlie Mike.
traffic, 12 o'clock, high, 2 miles.
Insight.
6 Charlie Mike, traffic just ahead of you, the citation at about 3,500.
Insight, 6 Charlie Mike. We might get a little bit of wake turbulence for this. There it is.
That's pretty close.
I wasn't looking, but you plugged in direct to Sedona?
Yep.
Does it give us estimated timing?
So it does right here. So it says about 27 minutes. That'll change as we level off and speed up. There's a lot that I didn't verbalize, but when we came off of the runway, you always pull power back to climb speed, and then fuel pump off, landing light off. Everything else looks good up here. Strobes, navs are on, strobes are on. Then I always come down here, flaps are up. Always check that. And then I come across as a flow, so it's a big reverse C. And then flow, check gear up, fuel's on the left tank, which it can stay there for now. So we'll turn on the lights here in just a second. Pressurization's fine right where it's at. Come across here, everything looks good, and then no CAS messages. And then you just continue your climb up.
Yeah, I was impressed when we were doing our little run up, how you already had it perfectly memorized after just 2 months or so, and then you followed it up with the checklist, but you went down it and it was exactly the same. For you adjusting your headset made me think about mine. I didn't even have on noise canceling. It is so quiet back here.
Quiet it down just a tad more when I pull the prop off, and then right about here is where it cruises.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. So that is cruise setting set. So 29 inches, 2400 on the RPM, and then 1500 on the exhaust temperature.
That's impressive. So while we're up at altitude heading towards Sedona, tell us a little bit more about your pilot journey, when you started, why you started.
Really funny, my dad used to tell me all of these stories about him flying when I was a lot younger, and him getting his pilot's license, and all of these fun adventures he'd go on. I'm like, man, I want to do that. I'm like, wait, Dad, why are you not flying? Like, where's your airplane? He said, well, when I had you kids, I stopped flying. And I'm like, man, sounds so cool. So one day I decided I was just going to go out to the airport and start. And I went out to the local airport where my dad got his license, and I walked in. I said, I want to learn how to fly. And they said, great, we've got the perfect person for you. He was an 18-year-old CFI II-MEI.
What?
At 18, he was an engineering student at the local university. Walking encyclopedia this guy was.
Huh.
So he now flies F-15s for the military, which is so cool. I went through my private pilot's license 11 years ago. I stayed a private pilot for almost 6 years. I couldn't believe that I decided to do all of these trips as a private, because when I went and got my instrument rating, I thought I knew everything about flying. When I got my instrument, I realized I knew nothing. And I'll tell you, if you guys get your private, do your instrument. It's worth every penny. Every penny to get your instrument rating. And I continued on, and instead of doing a biannual flight review, which you guys are probably familiar with, every 2 years you have to do this review.
Yeah.
You can add a rating, and in lieu of getting...
Oh yeah, like resets it, right?
Yeah, resets it, right. So every 2 years I would just get a rating. I got my instrument rating. 2 years later I got my commercial. 2 years later I got my multi-engine commercial. And now I'm working on the CFI. And I have enjoyed it more than anything else in life. Just throughout the years, I've always rented the 172s, the 182s, worked my way into a 210. Then I started flying survey for a local flight school. So I traveled all over by myself with an airplane without an autopilot. I'll tell you, when you fly that many hours without an autopilot, it sure is nice to get in this and just to be able to relax for a second, and not have to, make sure that you're on heading or you're on your altitude. It is kind of nice to take the workload off just a little bit.
So now you're able to use it for some business stuff and traveling around, real estate stuff, and tell us a little bit about that.
I actually got out of high school and went to college to be a specialized diesel technician. Just like you guys when I was young, when I was 18, I started a diesel business, a diesel shop repairing diesel trucks.
Wow.
Grew it into a really large company. And in 2010, when I was 23, I sold it to Corinthian colleges. That's when I got into aviation. When the market crashed in 2008, I had no idea, and in 2013, here's all of the nice mountain wave. Just a pause in the story. When you hit mountain wave, you guys know the best thing to do is you just slow down a little bit. Now, it has a very thin wing, so it transfers a lot of that weight, to the fuselage, so that's why we're feeling it. So the best thing you can do when you enter turbulence like this is tighten up your seatbelt and slow down. When the market started coming up in 2011, 2012, I reached out to a friend of mine and I said, hey, what could a young kid like me do to get into real estate? And he said, well, Cory, what you need to be doing is building houses. I'm like, oh, wonderful. So I bought a lot from him, started building the house, and I found out that the real estate agent was going to make more money than I was. I said, man, I'm in the wrong business. And so I went and got my license, started helping people buy and sell houses. Then what I realized is that when you go to closing, you're done. Like, you get your check and now you got to go get new business. You got to keep it going. And I was trying to figure out what these investors were doing to get a paycheck every month and not have to really work for it. That's when I started buying single-family investment houses. Here's the trick for a lot of young folks getting into real estate is they don't have a whole lot of money, right? So it kind of stops them. The trick that I did two things. I partnered with someone who had money, but at the same time, I was buying houses with creative strategies, all of the creative stuff. So the subject to lease options, the owner carries, all of that. Maybe you've heard of that.
Yeah.
And so I was able to buy a single-family house for $900 at closing, for $1,200, and I ended up with 71 single-family houses.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
And so with 71, I got really good at managing tenants, which I was young at the time. I remember a lot of my tenants saying, wait, you're like 20 years younger than I am, and you're our landlord? And I said, yeah, that's right. But if you take care of your tenants, you do just fine.
So you've been able to ride some equity waves. So you've been able to make money on the equity that, well, they're paying down your mortgage in a sense, and you're riding the values increasing. You get cash flow. And
correct. And so the equity, I wasn't expecting it to happen. It just happened.
Right.
Right. And I did get kind of lucky with all of the equity stuff and the market coming up and being able to cash out. And you're riding in an airplane that was paid for by equity in these houses.
Oh.
So at the beginning of COVID, my partner said, hey, I want to sell off a lot of what we got together. He was kind of scared.
Yeah, people were freaking out.
Yeah, and so we sold off 20 houses, and now I had all of this money that I didn't 1031, and so I decided to buy an asset to get rid of it.
Perfect tax maneuvering and just being smart about the money, and otherwise you had to pay a lot of capital gains on
sales, right? Yep.
So yeah, there's some great tax advantage with planes.
My question, back to the beginning when you were getting started with more creative financing and owner carries and takebacks and everything, how would you find those owners that were able to do something like that?
The best thing back then was still foreclosures.
Okay.
And I was able to bail a lot of people out of foreclosure using the creative strategies, or because the other option they had was to just go into foreclosure and let their house go back to the bank.
Okay.
So what I was able to do is just take over their loan to pay maybe a little bit of back payments, maybe 1 or 2 months that they couldn't make.
Yeah.
And then title just transferred to me, and I just managed their mortgage until I either sold the property or refinanced it.
Gotcha.
It's a beautiful way for young folks to get into real estate. It's a great way for people with not a whole lot of money to get into real estate, but not only get into real estate, but accumulate and scale.
Yeah.
You can, because there's no limit, right? If you go and get loans, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have a 10 loan limit. You can only get 10 loans before they start cutting you off and say, we're not going to be giving you any more loans.
Oh.
So the way you get past the loan limit is either portfolio loans from a local bank or from creative type strategies.
Yeah, definitely something we want to get into. We'll see if some opportunities arise. The Phoenix market, as you've seen, has just been absolutely nuts. Stuff sells within 1 day of being posted.
Yeah,
as you can imagine.
It's gone quick.
We're looking, our first FHA or get a duplex, rent out the other side, something like that.
The duplexes, the triplexes, the fourplexes, it's all just a brilliant idea. All of it, even single family houses. I'm more of a buy and hold guy. I don't like flipping. I don't mind flipping because it's a great paycheck. I like buy and hold. I like the wealth later on in life. And since we're so young, we have so long to go.
Yeah.
And you guys have your normal business that brings you, maybe your everyday cash flow. Buy the real estate, just sit on it. I'm excited to talk to you guys, and just as much as you could probably help me, I could help you through it.
Okay, yeah, there's Sedona dead ahead. You can still see how orange the red rocks are.
How gorgeous the Arizona sunset is.
Every night, it never ceases to amaze.
Wow.
I was going to say the same.
We're over the top of Sedona right now. The other thing we have on board, I'm going to show you.
You can just listen to the radio.
XM, and it's got the full,
just like a car. That's
like
the same
a car.
as our
Yep.
Rolls-Royce has it. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we just made a quick pass over Sedona. It is still looking just as beautiful as the last times we've been here. It hasn't changed. So that was cool to show Cory this quick little spot.
Thank you, by the way. That was awesome.
Yeah, just a quick, easy place to fly to from Phoenix. Before we get back to Scottsdale, couple questions. So people would say, oh, well, why didn't you just buy like a SR22 turbo over this plane or some other competitors? What are the competitors at this price point? What do these go for new, or do they still make them new?
They do. This is actually one of the very few that is still in production. This doesn't have very many competitors. It is a pressurized cabin class single engine airplane. And that's what makes this airplane so beautiful. We're at 7,500 feet right now, but we are breathing 1,700 foot air. They are still making these. They renamed them. They are now the M350, the M500, which is a 500 horsepower turbine, and then the M600, which is the 600 power turbine version of this aircraft. They're still in production. They're beautiful, brand new. The M600 is somewhere in the $2.5 million range.
Oh, wow.
The equivalent to this today, brand new, is somewhere around the $1.5 million dollar range.
Do you plan on upgrading at some point to some jet or anything else, or does this do what you need to do and that's it?
I wish it did. I am planning to upgrade. The problem in this airplane is the insurance. So I stepped into this to get the time for the insurance to be comfortable with me stepping up into a turbine like a TBM or into a light jet. So this airplane will give me what I need to do that.
Ah, okay. That makes perfect sense. Guys, this is so cool. I'm in the back, and Cory was like, yeah, that seat reclines, by the way. Check this out. This little button here. You push this, and you can recline the seat back. So I now have a nice reclined seat. I have my armrest right here. And then I have my little workspace. If I had a laptop, I could be writing my emails. Look at that. One of the coolest features of this plane, the speed brakes just went up.
Oh,
you could feel them. Oh, and that sunset. What a gorgeous evening. This is awesome. All right, well, we'll catch back with you guys when we're closing in on the runway.
That it feels right.